not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it is Monday in the Riv, and I'll tell you what, it's getting, I don't even want to think of how bad it's going to get when we get into the summer and it's full-scale election time.
Yep.
Because hell is a pop in here.
Yep. And remember, people, tonight we're going to have a snowstorm. They're saying 4 to 6, 4 to 8 inches. But I heard on the way in that it may convert over to rain for tomorrow, so we'll have 4 to 8 inches of slush.
Listen, look, Fall River is, from what I saw this morning, Fall River is right on the line as usual.
Yep. Because
normally those storms, they're milder at the coast.
Right.
Sometimes they're more severe than a line, but the line's always like Fall River.
Yes, it is.
And we normally get the worst end. So if I'm going to say that, because I saw one that said we can only get a couple of inches, 2 to 4 inches.
I saw the same thing.
So, no, look it. It's the second best job in the world behind being the mayor of the city of Fall River, if you're Paul Coogan. It's the second best job because you can be wrong all the time as a weatherman and they never fire you.
True.
Yep, you don't notice that. We're going to get 6 inches. Oh, well, the storm shifted. And, remember the old days, the good old days when weathermen used to say, you're going to get snow tomorrow?
Yep.
They don't even do that now because
no.
they're wrong. They go, you're going to have precipitation.
Yep.
Tomorrow you have 10% chance of precipitation, which means it can be snow, hail, rain,
sleet,
yes, anything.
Yep.
But hey, it is what it is. So, but stay safe, please. And if there's a parking ban, get your cars off the street.
Is it Aerosmith or Journey?
But
I couldn't resist that.
I know. Stay safe and stay safe. Get your cars off the road because it's difficult to plow these streets at best. So give the plow dry. Although they don't give us a break. They always plow in your driveway.
That's
I
right.
clear my driveway, and then they plow it back in 8 more times.
Exactly. I know. Well, we have a message from former city councilor Christopher Peckham.
Oh.
Which he sent to Paul Coogan.
He sent this to Paul Coogan.
Paul Coogan, I'll take $100 for the next Motto City logo contest. I'll save you the bull. More explicit than that.
Yeah, we know what goes along with that. Yeah, okay.
I'll save you the bull of the I'll put together a committee to come up with a solution. I'm calling it right now. I'm going out on a limb, and my hypothesis is that there won't be much of a bid process for the upcoming land availability and sale process in regards to the new 79 project. Didn't we just have a 79 project 6 years ago? You became mayor. Everyone that speaks up against you gets pushed out, and your own inner personnel put the blame on the legislature and the state for such rushed closing of 79. I wonder why. Afraid of a new ballot question? Who's the legislature? Carol? Who took over the State Line Pier? Ken? Who went to a conference in Boston in regards to the State Line Pier? Paul? Who filed for money in regards to the waterfront in 79? Carol? Auchincloss? It all stinks. Ken was running the State Line Pier before he was even qualified to do so. Someone should reach out to Diane Butler for her side of the story, the former state pier director who now lives in Tennessee and was supposedly bought out of her contract with 1 year remaining and $1 million in surplus in the line pier account. Just speculation, though, right? Isn't that what they say? Fall River is perpetually politically dirty. From raking in the low-income housing in the late 80s and early 90s, the same players are running your council and mayor's office today, all coming from someone that's been there and has absolutely no interest in going back to work with these dirty bastards. Carlton might as well run for mayor next time.
Wow. Scathing.
Yep.
Scathing, and you know something?
He's
probably pretty accurate.
Yep.
So, and one thing about your kudos to
We lost a good city councilor when he
Mr.
decided
Peckham,
to come back.
you know, Chris always said what he felt, and whether you agree or disagree, those are the kind of people we like. Stand up, look at the camera, say exactly what you think. And this is the problem. Look, you're right, but now we've gone, he's talking about it's been like this forever, but it's worse now than ever.
Right.
Because what they've done now is, years ago we always had political tics. You look at Carlton came from the state house as a state rep. He took over the city.
Eddie came from the state.
Set up his cabal. Eddie came from the state house, set up his cabal. Jazel came from the alternate universe on a spaceship, sold everybody a bill of goods. But if you look at these people, they have mostly been of the political nature.
Right.
They're all politicians. But now I think they found a better. They think they found a better formula. What you do is you get a lifelong political tick, like Paul, who never ever earned a job, who's been beholden to them for positions and pay raises his whole life, has never been a leader in anything. At least they could say they got elected to, and then he runs for school committee where everybody knows him, and then he becomes the mayor, and now he becomes the puppet. And they just pull the strings and say, listen, your cut is you're going to make almost $500,000. You get a couple terms, and you can give anybody you want jobs and all the pay raises you want, just like we gave you when you were working in the school department.
That's right.
And this is a problem. What we need is we have to elect, for the first time in a long, long time, and I don't think ever in my recollection, maybe you can name one, but a political outsider, not an insider.
Yeah.
Somebody who had to work for a living. So that lets Paul out in the next election. Somebody who's actually worked for a living, had to go to work every day, was judged on how he produced in that job, and maybe they'll bring that to the city of Fall River, because you're seeing this happen throughout the country now. They're starting to boot these people out.
Oh, yeah, that's
like in Virginia with Youngkin.
Right, that's a big process right now.
And now they're booting a lot of these. They're booting these political ticks. They're kicking them to the curb, because people are frankly fed up with the same old people making the money,
right,
and having to pay a gatekeeper fee. And we know who that gatekeeper fee goes to.
Yep.
And like you said, 79. How many times are we going to do 79? Well, we had a project which segues. No, it was a great segue, because this is unscripted, but it's amazing how we get segued into it. But first of all, let me again. Shots fired again.
That's right.
Shots fired. Shots fired at Bay Village.
Twice,
Not once. At approximately 4 p.m., 4:30 p.m. in the afternoon, and then again later on around 7.
right.
Shots fired again. So they went back. I guess they missed what they were aiming at 4 o'clock. They went back.
There weren't enough holes in the walls.
There weren't enough. But look,
Because bullets are flying all over the place.
Is it at Paul's house?
No.
All right, then there's no
no
Don't
bullets.
say that. They're not flying all over
I know,
the
they're not
city,
flying all over the
because nobody
city.
shot his house up.
That's right.
So that's the way it is. But we have to get that one in, because, crime again. Well, since we're doing that, let's segue into this. Boy, I'll tell you what, this is a real picture. I'm telling you, talk about the old political hacks. Chris, we'll send you this picture if you want it. Look at this. You know what this is, right?
Yep.
Alan Silver's meeting. Look, they got a square. It's not even a circle.
Right.
See, if they made it a circle, we could call it a circle jerk, but it's not. It's square. And look at all these. Look at all this cast of characters we have here. State Representative Celia, Carol Fiola, all of the police chief, a bunch of police officers, and blah blah blah, and Coogan sitting there in the middle with his hands folded, and but at least his head's above his derriere in this picture, and and these are the people that have been. Well, how long's Carol been around? How long's Alan been around? How long have all these people been around? and nothing ever gets done.
That's right.
This is what they do. They meet, and they have a study group, and they commission a study, and they talk about it, and they tell you they're working on it, and nothing ever gets done. So this was the comment after that meeting, one of the comments online. So people online have voiced their concerns that the meeting was just for a photo op, saying
Yep.
they worry about looming public safety issues in Bristol County that they will get worse. Of course they will. I mean, look, the guy sat around for 3.5 years and let the police department deteriorate, and you know what their solution is? Oh, everybody shut up, we gave them a pay raise. No kidding, they got their pay raise, they're gonna go to work, and now they're gonna make-
10.8%.
And now they're gonna make more money on overtime.
That's right. 10.8% pay raise.
Well, it's gonna be more than that, because we
Oh,
know-
no, we know it's going to be more than that, but in
Yeah.
the contract, it says 10.8%.
Well, but that's a con. We
Right.
all know it's a con. They eliminated 7 steps.
Exactly.
Or 8 steps.
They're down to 3 steps now.
Yeah, they're down to 3 steps. So they used to have 11 or something.
Yep.
The starting pay then 10 steps. So they've eliminated it. So when they say they gave you 1.5%, let me see if any of the counselors can do math and really actually come up with the numbers. What you want to do is don't look at the bottom step, which they're saying that's what they're giving the 1.5% to. Mm-hmm. Now what you do is see, I've done this a couple times, so I know how to do this. You ready around to see how much money they got? Get the old 11-step, 10-step category, look at the numbers, then you look at the new one, and you go, okay, step 1, they're saying they're giving you 1.5. But now, what step does step 2 correlate to? Is it real? What was the step 2 on the old contract versus the step 2 on this contract?
Right.
And the same thing with step 3. Now, if you eliminated 8 steps and it took you 8 years to get there, step 3 is now 7 steps higher. And I can guarantee you it's not 1.5%.
Step 3 is equated to, would be step 10 or 11.
Yeah.
Which is 10 plus years of service.
Yeah, so the old step, it took you 10 years to get this pay. Now it's going to take you like 1 year, 2 years.
No, it's,
You start at step 1.
Step 1 is date of hire to 4 years. Step 2 is 5 years to 9 years.
But
and then 10
you know,
years
we're
and up.
talking percentages.
Oh,
here.
no, I know what we're talking
Yeah,
about.
we're talking percentages
Right.
here. So now when you look at this, you say, well, before the first increment, you got maybe $1,000 a year, you know, something, whatever. Now now they're getting $3,000 or $4,000 a year, you know, and so that's the actual increase in that other step. And what they also don't understand is that these step increases are not just for patrolmen, because the contracts normally read that there's a rank differential.
Correct.
So whatever the police officers get, the sergeants will get, I don't know what the rank, and I'll be truthful, I don't know what their rank differential is anymore because I don't do the contracts anymore, but it was always 15%. They were 15. So whatever they get, a sergeant will get 15% more. Then a lieutenant will get 15% more than a sergeant. And then a captain will get 15% more than a lieutenant. And then when you get the deputy, that's when a big jump, 21% between a captain and a deputy. So when you look at the pay raise at the bottom, which will probably be a lot more than 1.5% when they're talking about the first year, you look at the other steps.
Right.
You look at the other steps, because there's nobody at step 1 anymore, because these guys are already on a job.
That's right.
Everybody that's getting a pay raise is not at step 1. They're all probably at step 3
Or higher.
or higher. So they're going to tell you they gave them a 1.5% pay raise on step 1. What's the increase, the actual increase in percentages at step 3? Nobody will ask that question, so nobody gives a damn, because they just throw money at it.
And the other problem is this, and and I've spoke to members of the public, and they said they don't care if the police department gets a $20,000 a year pay raise, each officer. And I turned around and I said, why? Because they deserve it. I said, I'm not saying they don't deserve it, but why? Why 20,000? Why 30,000? Why 15,000? Well, because they deserve it, and they deserve to be paid more, because they're overworked, they're understaffed. I said, but extra money isn't going to fix that problem. I said, we need to fix the problem, not throw money at it, because that's the problem we have in Fall River. We throw money at everything.
Yeah.
And I got a few of those people in the public to kind of convert their thought process a little bit. And I said, and remember, if they get a $15,000 pay raise or a $20,000 pay raise, how are we going to afford it? Oh, well, we'll find a way. I said, we'll find a way? Yeah. You know how we're going to afford it? More taxes, more fees. Are your taxes high enough? Oh, well, I rent. Well, if I own your property and my taxes go up, your rent's going up.
Well, yeah.
And then all of a sudden, the numbers were starting to click in their head. Wait a minute.
Well, you look, nobody is a bigger advocate for pay than I am. Mm-hmm. But the pay has to be reasonable. If you open up, because look, I never read police publications, but I'm sure there's something that is akin to the National Fire Protection Association handbook. First thing they tell you in there is, number one, you can't have a fire department that the complement is based on the worst case scenario. Because if we had a fire department in Fall River that had the manpower to fight Kerr Mill, Notre Dame, Firestone, St. Peter and Paul Church, Arlen's, we'd have an 800 or 900 man fire department, and we would be bankrupt.
Right.
So first of all, the department has to be done on what it is to fight a normal fire in a community or provide police protection in a community. That's number one. The manning level, which is important. Because if you say, well, we want to have Fall River safe, they got 35,000 cops in New York, let's hire 35,000 cops. Well, we'll be in receivership in 2 minutes. But as far as wages are concerned, nobody fought harder for wages. But that's not a reality, because the first thing you do when a city says they can't pay, they can't afford, when you go into the JLMC, the Joint Labor Management Commission, on an arbitration because you can't get a pay raise, and the firefighters are there now, and don't think they're not going to use this contract to win that arbitration.
That's right.
Because they are. Mm-hmm. But the fact is that when you go there, and I went there twice and prevailed, I won both times. First thing you have to prove is the city's ability to pay. We don't have the ability to pay a lot, but we have the ability to give them a reasonable raise and keep them competitive. What you got to do is you look at and they don't allow you to bring Boston in and stuff because they're too big, too much money, too much of they have more money. You have to use, I can tell you almost off the top of my head, the top two, Newton, Cambridge. We can't use those. We have 10, including Fall River, a universe they call it. Now the rest of them, at the bottom, you've got New Bedford, Lowell, Lawrence, Fall River, Brockton. That's our half. You can't go and tell an arbitrator, we want to go from 8th on this list to what Newton gets paid. Well, Newton makes a lot. We all know how rich.
Yeah.
And the arbitrator will laugh you right out of there, and you lose. Mm-hmm. What you have to do is take all the benefits and the wages and prove an ability to pay, and you move up that ladder. Nobody's saying that the Fall River police officers should not be right up with cities of our size and cities of our economic condition. We should try to make them at the top of that list.
Agreed.
We're not going to be up with Newton and Cambridge, because this city will never be a Newton or a Cambridge, and we will never have the ability to pay. But our police officers should be right at the top of the heap of gateway cities and cities like this. We should not, they should be getting a competitive wage, but the issue is not money. The issue is retention of police officers. This is not about paying who we got. It's about why did half this department walk? And we read it on the last show. This is about retention of police officers. And we can't retain them. This city is loaded with crime. They're working their butts off. Yeah, they deserve a raise, but they also deserve a department that's not in total chaos. And this guy in this picture, talking about the crime with his hands crossed here, has been in for 3.5 years, never did a damn thing. 3 police chiefs, crime up the wazoo. They discuss anything here that would ever come out. We saw all the chaos in the police department, lawsuits, police officers getting sued, and nobody, no police officer should do that, but good police officers should not be condemned for what other people do.
Right.
Drugs stored in a drawer. Have we ever seen a news conference to say this has been cleaned up? Did we ever see an outside chief being called in like they did in Cranston to do something? No. This guy is set. He has been sitting with his thumb up where the sun doesn't shine for 3.5 years, and this is the photo op and the con they're trying to run. Yeah, we're doing something. Too little, way too late, because he does nothing about anything. But the police department and this pay raise is really, I don't know. We're looking at Durfee, and then Diamond coming down a pipe, and that's going to end up with what, about $12 million per year at
$6 million
the end.
just on Diamond.
Yeah, it's going to be like.
And that doesn't include the assessment for the students. That's
Yeah.
just the assessment for the school.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, no. So, as I said, yeah, this city is going to be, in 3 or 4 years, if somebody doesn't come in and become mayor and put a hold on this, wasted all the opera money, giving it to his friends, and now we're going to look in 4 or 5 years to being in receivership, and believe me, people, Fall River wasn't in receivership once. A lot of people don't know that. Fall River wasn't back in the Stone Age, even before we were around. Mm-hmm. You don't want a receiver to come into a city. Believe me, you don't want it, because a receiver has absolute authority. They can just cut everybody's salary in half and say, you don't like it?
lump it.
Bye. And this is what's happening. But this again, Chris Peckham calling the mayor out, congratulations. He should be called out. And stuff like this, I don't see a lot of people from the general community here. I didn't see a lot of follow-up.
I believe Andrew Raposo was there.
Yeah, well, he's there because he's a city council. But
Right.
I mean, you don't see, this is a.
I know Carlos was
This
there.
is a giant. It's not a circle jerk. It's a square jerk. So they're all sitting around.
No, they're all square jerks.
These are the knights of the square table, okay? And they're all, for the most part, political insiders who are going to preach you the con job. And you know something? There's nothing worse than getting conned. And it upsets me when media doesn't cover things like this accurately, and also talk about the fact that nothing ever gets done. Where's the plan? Where was the press conference? No. And I got to segue into this. I've been thinking about this for a week. Last week I was watching NBC News only because I had to. Well, I wasn't had to. I was getting my dinner ready and stuff. I was going to go eat it in front of the TV, and I watched them talk about that shooting in Michigan, and about the guy. And it just goes to show how unscrupulous media can shape public opinion and do things. Just like they did with Iraq. There was a movie, Shock and Awe. I just watched it really good about how they lied about weapons of mass destruction, about everything. They do this all the time now about everything. But really irritated me because just as I was sitting down getting ready to change the channel, the commentator for that segment on that shooting made sure he had to say, the individual who was shooting bought his gun legally.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the end of it.
That's right.
And this, again, is the media being propagandists. It's a half-truth. He's right. He did buy his gun legally. And why was he able to buy a gun legally? Because that shooting occurred in 2023. He was arrested in 2019 on a felony gun charge. And when he was arrested on that felony gun charge, he was given 4 years in prison. And one of the Soros DAs knocked it down to a misdemeanor and let him out of jail. So did that TV anchor give the people the full story?
Of course
that
not.
This would have not happened had not a liberal Soros DA knocked it down to him. Now he no longer had a felony on his record. The reason he bought a gun, because there were if that sentence would have stood, and I think it was way too short for 4 years for a felony gun violation, but that's another issue. If that sentence would have stood, number one, there wouldn't have been any shooting because he'd still be in jail, and secondly, he could have never ever in his life bought a gun legally. So this is what happens when you deal with media that lies their butts off.
Well, you know, you mentioned that, but I've had to call Channel 10 on several stories they've done about Fall River because they miss a whole component of it. Like they did the story about affordable housing in New Bedford and Fall River last week, okay? And they talked to Paul and they talked to Mitchell and they brought that information forward. And I turned around and they didn't talk about the fact that Paul is not for affordable housing. They talked about the fact that Paul did not know the difference between affordable housing and low-income housing. Carol Fiola had to bring up the difference between affordable housing and low-income housing. So Paul learned.
That'll be...
right, exactly. And I called him and said, well, you forgot the fact that Ken Fiola, Carol Fiola's husband, has been appointed to the transition committee for the governor on affordable housing, and he's come out publicly with Paul Coogan and said they don't support affordable housing. So how can you give a full story if you're not going to give the full story?
Whatever happened to fair and balanced?
Right. I don't know what's going on.
What another great segue. La la la. Thank heavens we have some media to actually run. According to Rent Cafe, which I have right here, the average monthly rent in Fall River is now $1,771 with an average apartment size of 934 square feet. You'll have to earn $408 a week after taxes just to have a small apartment in Fall River. Here's a list of the cheapest and most expensive neighborhoods in the city of Fall River. And I have it right here. And look, there may be fluctuations in this, but I know one thing. I've still got a U.S. Census Bureau thing that I looked up only 3 years ago or so, when the average rent in Fall River was $785 a month. Now this is it. This is the area, and they've actually got them broken down by neighborhoods, and you can go look at it. It's called Rent. It's called Rent Cafe. I'm sure you can Google it. It's on Google because it says Google up here. Bank Street. Average rent, that's a small apartment too, by the way, so. $1,904. Highlands, $1,904. North End, maybe North End's always the most expensive. They want to keep the riffraff out anyway.
Exactly.
North End, $1,904. Steep Brook, which is down on North End for you people who don't know where Steep Brook is.
That's right next to the Freetown line.
Yep, exactly. That's the far north. We used to call that Border City.
Yep.
In the old days. Steep Brook, Border City. Steep Brook, again, $1,904. Lower Highlands, now you're getting lower. Now you can get a little break here. It's all the way down to $1,868. Sandy Beach, $1,861. North Watuppa Reservoir, $1,849. Oak Grove, in case you don't know where that is, that's the Oak Grove Cemetery, $1,830. Corky Row, at low rent districts in Niagara, $1,575. It's outrageous. And then you expect these people, and you don't support affordable housing. How can people with a per capita income of $28,000 afford these rents? They can't. And shame on you people.
And you know, and we're hearing it every day from people. I heard it from people in the coffee shop last night. They can't afford to get the medication. So people have to make decisions. Well, I want to thank you all for watching. Thank you for inviting us into your home. And remember, stay safe, stay angry, and hold your politicians accountable. We'll see you on Wednesday.